The name I thought was intriguing. Shape of Momo. Momos are something that I love. I've grown up with, and being from the Northeast, it's just refreshing to know that there is stuff coming out of there.
And also, I think we should not complain about how we are being misrepresented.
Okay.
Because I think, like in a time like now, where everyone can, it's digital, right? Everyone is making films, so I think we can take reins in our own hands and stop complaining.
There was a very famous duo who were accused of plagiarizing an English film.
Right.
And this was around early 2000s.
Right.
And they said, no, we could have never plagiarized it because we haven't watched a film since 1970.
It's what you put the spotlight on,
Right.
and it's what you make hot, and it's what you make unmissable.
There's just so much outrage about nepotism.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you will go and watch two known people's films more than two unknown people's
Right.
films. This is a wake-up call for the audience,
Right.
for members of journalists who love film, for anybody who is actually trying to promote something original.
Right.
But that's the thing, like there's a Gujarati film in 2025.
Yes.
That
Krishna
film is
Sahayate.
actually
Yeah.
the most successful Indian film in 2025.
Exactly,
And nobody's really talking about it.
Whatever doesn't have stars, we are not interested in.
Yeah.
I mean, after doing the rounds of festival, when I go back to my village and bump into someone in the wedding, they're like, okay, film gayi, congratulations, shaadi kab kar rahe ho?
Well, if you haven't heard about Shape of Momo so far, you will in the days to come, I can guarantee that. It's a small but definitely not insignificant film. I have the team here, Director Tribeny and two executive producers, Zoya and Reema. Thank you for your time. Welcome to HT. I'll start by saying what I just told you before. It's a beautiful film and I cannot stop raving about it. I gotta ask you, it's won laurels across the world. Now it's homecoming time. It's releasing to your audience for which you have made the film. Now the thing is that when it comes to the home audience, they are much more warm about it as well, but they dissect it too. So what's it like? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Euphoric? What's the feeling?
First of all, I'm really, really excited to be able to release the film all over India and to have Reema, Zoya, Payal on board. It means the world to me. Actually, especially because coming from where I come from, I don't think any film from Sikkim has got the kind of support that this film has received. And I think I'm a bit nervous because the hero of our film, the protagonist, is not your conventional protagonist that you see. So that apart from that, I think I'm sure people will be able to resonate like how the people across the world have been able to resonate with
I think it's a time for unconventional protagonists.
Yes,
We'd like that more often than not. Yes. I would start with a cliched question and why this film, but I'll just twist it around. What was the point when you felt you needed to put your names behind this film?
I think for me, it was a particular scene.
Yeah. Okay.
It was a scene when the tenant throws the apples down on the mountain. That was, for me, it just
Right, made sense.
clinched it. Yeah.
For you, Reema?
I mean, for me, I think it's before I watched the film when, I've said this before, but the name I thought was intriguing. Shape of Momo. Momos are something that I love, I've grown up with. And being from the Northeast, it's just refreshing to know that there is stuff coming out of there. Because it's I think that it's an area that's misrepresented, underrepresented, and you rarely get to see accents, faces, features, cultural habits that are so familiar to me, but so unfamiliar in what is popular culture.
True.
So honestly, I was sold on the idea of it. And then when I started watching it, obviously it's, the film is almost like a slow burn that grows and kind of, layer by layer, the nuances grow. It's very original. And I felt like she, the fact that she got it made, got it till here, that deserves support.
Agreed.
It's commendable, and I would love to be here and do what I can.
To touch upon what you said, I think this is the fourth piece of work in the last 1 year that I have watched, which is set in the Northeast. It's the first from a filmmaker from there. And that's what makes it different because, like you said, we have had the increasing representation of that region, but from a very Mumbai-Delhi lens.
Not really. If you
Not
see
always, but
Reema Das's film, if you see LP's film, which
of course. I'm talking,
Boom,
Boom, of course, is something different. But I'm saying that we need more and more of that to happen, that
of
people
course.
who are from there, who resonate with that culture,
Yes.
bring that. How important is representation for you?
Absolutely. Growing up, I didn't see someone like me on the screen and our stories. So one of the primary reasons why I told the film in my language and set it in my own village and my own house was also this, because very little representation, and also I think we should not complain about how we are being misrepresented.
Okay.
Because I think like in a time like now where everyone can. It's digital, right? Everyone is making films, so I think we can take reins in our own hands and stop complaining. I think if you want to be the hero of your story, you have to do it yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
So rather than complain, you actually want to act. Well, direct in your case, but act in
Yes.
that you'd rather tell the story
Yes.
instead of saying that you don't. I'll tell mine.
Yes.
But when you say it's a very personal film, how do you sort of rein in yourself so that it doesn't become a rant?
Then you get a co-writer who brings a lot of objectivity. Because honestly, when I was writing it on my own, I think, it did feel like a rant. It came from a place of angst, because these are experiences that are very personal, and also experiences of women around me in my society and community. So where you're told you're an equal and you're not, so someone had to say it. So I was finding right ways to say it until I found a co-writer, Kisli, who's also one of the producers of the film. He brought in a lot of objectivity, because when you're telling a story that comes from a personal space, you always see yourself as a hero. In life also, we think we are doing the right thing, right? So I think then we thought, when in all honesty, if you want to tell this story, we also have to be critical of the protagonist, because I think this story is not happening in isolation. There's society involved.
Third or fourth time again in the last 1 year that I have had talking to a panel where acclaimed filmmakers have lent their weight to a film, and it is happening increasingly, as you pointed out in the previous interview, and I'm very happy about that. When do you think that can happen institutionally and not individually? That we can bridge the divide between what the audience wants and what the distribution and the system that we have gives to them, because that's not happening to the level that we'd like, right?
I think, like we were discussing earlier, like these films were like an occasional event, but that is becoming really frequent. If you see what's happening now, whether it was a Village Rockstars, whether it was All We Imagine Is Light and what it did at Cannes, whether it was Boong and BAFTA, whether it was her at Busan, whether it was Sabar Bonda at Sundance, it's happening constantly, and I think the ecosystem is people are waking up to it, and it is going to find its rhythm. I think there has to be a distribution system that gets put into place where it's targeted to the audience, because there's definitely an audience for these films. So we just have to find that audience, we just have to target it to that audience, we have to make it accessible to that audience, and it will thrive. And filmmakers have been championing each other forever. And that's not going to stop. Even now, even in a space like the US or Europe, where indie films have their own market right now, people come in and executive produce, people come in and push the film. So that's not going to stop. And I feel like directors really support each other,
Because you know what it takes to
to make a film, and you like films.
Most directors love films. So
I think all should, right?
You want to promote.
You said most, but I think all should love films, right?
Well, I mean, there was, I won't name who, but there was a very famous duo who were accused of plagiarizing an English film.
Right.
And this was around early 2000s.
Right.
And they said, no, we could have never plagiarized it because we haven't watched a film since 1970. So I was like, okay.
That's one way to tell on yourself.
That was their defense of non-plagiarism. So you don't know that.
Yeah, we don't. But I want to just take off from that question, is because sometimes the system feels almost discouraging to independent filmmakers. The way we have it here. Which is what she was saying, that it's not occasional now, it's happening more and more frequently, which is why we can rattle off 7 independent films titles in 10 seconds, which wasn't the case 10 years ago. Yeah. But still, it doesn't feel like the system wants it to happen more frequently, or am I reading it wrong?
No, I think you guys need to come in there.
Okay. Yeah, I think
you guys need to create the buzz. The press needs to come in, because it's what you put the spotlight on.
Right.
And it's what you make hot, and it's what you make unmissable. And what are you paying attention to? If you're going to keep talking about the box office of a big blockbuster, then the audience thinks that's the most important.
Right.
So, I mean,
Thank you.
You must go home and
The ball is in your court.
very, very long article about
Yeah.
the emerging independent film movement.
And
in
not
India
one
right
article.
now.
It has to be
Multiple.
consistent.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It needs to be
But
a column.
I think that really the call is to journalists, the call is to cinephiles, the call is to the audience that's bored of the run-of-the-mill stuff.
Right.
I hear a lot of people complaining about
Why can't we make these kind of films?
why aren't
Well,
they
we are.
film this?
Exactly.
But then when you ask them what is the last film you supported, it was
Nothing.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, you know.
Also, not indicting audiences, but I'm just keeping myself as well there. But that we all say, oh, why aren't we making different stuff when we watch something in the West and we say, oh, why aren't we making stuff like this? And then we only watch the mainstream stuff, which is good, of course. But I think we need to sort of go out of that too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it comes to access too, because films do not reach.
Yeah.
The penetration power is
Yeah,
little
but
low.
I think that a little bit of soul searching is good from both sides.
Both sides, yeah.
Since filmmaking is not something that only filmmakers do in isolation. There's also an audience, you know. Like there's this famous thing for, you know, there's this so much outrage about nepotism.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you will go and watch two known people's films more than two unknown people's films.
Right.
So you must question yourself too,
Hmm.
you know.
I think what we have done is we've made this a marketing thing more than a creative thing, which is like myself included, my fraternity included. We have made it a market thing because over the last 5-6 years, the conversation has shifted from how good a film is to how much it makes,
Yeah,
and the
and-
audience has started to believe that if a film has made an X amount, only then it's good. Because I've heard
but
from
they're
But
not-
that's what Zoya means when she
Yeah.
says that it's for you guys. Because
I agree with you there.
when you see a Shape of Momo, when you see a Boom, when you see a Sabar Bonda, you cannot be comparing this to the box office of big
And you
tentpole
know,
commercial
if you
films.
are going to do that, then you have to, what you need to do is like, it was made in this much
Yeah,
with P&A,
contextualizes. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this is the return on investment.
Right.
This was made in this much with P&A. This is so. I mean, either you do that,
Yeah.
or just talk about the quality of the
Yeah,
movie.
And this holds for any kind of film. The budget is relative to the box office. There are films that are being celebrated for being 200 crore films. They're not telling you they spent 500 to make it.
Right, of
You
course.
see what I'm saying? So it's, you know, and really, I believe that films are art. They are.
Yeah.
You know, even a very, very tentpole commercial film
Of course.
has that.
Art.
And art cannot only be counted in money, in value, in that sense. You know, earlier today
In
we were
terms of
talking to
impact.
somebody else who kind of came up
Longevity,
with the
impact.
word
Yeah.
support. And I have a problem with, you know, because when I made Superboys, a lot of people were saying that why aren't people coming and supporting it? I was like, I don't need your support. I need your patronage.
Patronage.
There's a big difference between
Yeah.
the two things. Traditionally, through history, through human history, art has always survived with patronage.
Patronage.
And patronage comes from people who love it,
Yeah.
who appreciate it, who can see the beauty in it. So I think, to me, this is a wake-up call for the audience,
Right.
for you know, members of journalists who love film, for anybody who is actually trying to promote something original.
Right. So I'm asking you that do we have do we need a watershed box office moment for these films to be talked about, or is there any other way?
I mean,
No.
I think you need.
No, I'll tell you what it is. You know, there are pros and cons to a star system.
Yeah.
And we are a star-driven industry. We are a star
Very
system
much,
industry. And the pros have been that we've survived the onset of Hollywood. We have our own stars. We want to see our own films. So we have
Right.
an ecosystem. We have a very thriving industry because we have our own star system. But there's a con to it, that whatever doesn't have stars, we are not interested in.
Yeah.
So we have to focus, keep our star system. We love our stars. And at the same time, understand that we have to make more stars. Like
Exactly.
authors like this are stars.
Right.
So we need to pay attention. We can't just focus on money.
Exactly.
It's an art form. You have to focus on other impact. You know, I mean, you don't even, like, do you know how much money Kaagaz Ke Phool made?
Nobody cares.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
know Kaagaz Ke Phool.
Of course.
Do you remember the biggest hit of that year?
Probably Mother India or something.
No,
like that. No, yeah, I don't.
That's what
yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there are things that there are different kinds of successes.
Right.
There are different things that live long. So
Like I was saying, like longevity and impact. That is
Yes.
what determines a
Yes.
film's
Yeah, and the
cultural
shelf
content.
life of a film.
Exactly.
It
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be the smallest of film, but you'll remember it 10 years later.
yeah,
And you could have gone and watched some other film that made hundreds
Probably,
of
yeah.
crores or whatever it has done and you've had a.
I've forgotten that film that I watched 2 weeks ago because that doesn't.
Because
speak
what
to me.
that gives you is that 2.5, 3 hours of raucous entertainment.
Yes.
But it doesn't, so it's really to be able to see niche as something valid.
Yeah. Right. That's.
And that's what I think the focus should be on that.
I want to come to you, Tribeny, here that in this sort of setup, how do you sustain? How do you sort of stay true to your conviction of making the kind of film that you want to? Because they mentioned we're a star-driven system. It's a language divide as well, but you wanted to make it in your language because you want to make it more authentic. How do you stay true to that vision, despite of all the sort of sort of roadblocks that you're seeing in your way?
I think India is so diverse that every region has its industry. So where I come from, our industry is at a very nascent stage. We don't have people making films at all.
Right.
So I really don't have trouble with stars like that. So I think, so right now my focus is to tell the stories of our people, and hopefully, in times to come, we'll have a Nepali Indian industry where Nepali filmmakers from India can make their films, and will have audiences ready to watch it. So yeah,
I think it's high time that happens. I will come to the title of the film that she pointed out, and I was very intrigued when I first heard of the title. Then when I watched it, it of course made sense, and I love what it denotes because it cuts across culture. The shape of Momo could have been shape of roti as well. It talks about that. I want to ask you, what has been your shape of Momo? When were you put in a box?
Constantly, even until now. I mean, after doing the rounds of festival, when I go back to my village and bump into someone in the wedding, they're like, okay, film gayi, congratulations, shaadi kab kar rahe ho?
Oh God.
So things like that, and I think I grew up with that pressure of trying to compensate for my parents becoming the son they never had,
Right.
and ours is, I mean, they say ours is a very progressive society, but I have always felt like a second class citizen in my own place, and this feeling that I grew up with, I think that is why I wanted to make films, because I never saw women like my mother. We used to live in a joint family, and my mother would be the last person to eat.
Yeah.
And I never understood that, and I would question that, saying, you are father's equal. Father's already ate. The help have already ate. And why are you the last person to eat? I never understood that. So experiences like this made me question about gender, made me question about our politics in life. So constantly, when you grow up thinking that you are lesser of a person, and the other gender or the other person sitting is superior than you, I think then you end up making a film like Shape of Momo.
Of course you do. You have something to add to that about your shape of Momo in your life?
Me? Yeah. Oh God. No, actually, I've been very, very
blessed. That's
blessed. I grew up in a city like Bombay, which is very cool.
Right.
And then I grew up with parents that are very cool.
Right.
And there was, like, for me, I got to college. And that was the first time I realized that there are people that treat their sons different from their daughters. It was a shock to me. I was a teenager. I had never experienced it in my family. And both sides of my family doesn't exist. So I think that's been like my greatest privilege. And so I have never been yes, there's a societal kind, but you're insulated by your own people
because of the family.
Right? Yeah, you're insulated and you're protected. So I've never felt the need to conform.
For you?
Well, I come from a very middle class, conservative kind of setup. So I've had several shape of Momo moments in my life, and I think you continue to have them.
Yeah.
But everybody does. Even I think the most progressive person put in a situation does. So that's the beauty of our film.
Right.
It kind of gives you, like, it spoke to you. You don't have to be a woman to understand this film.
Right.
You don't, like you said, it's not about a momo. Zoya said earlier, it could be a roti or a paratha.
Yeah.
So it's the personal going universal.
Oh, wonderful. I think I'll have to end it on that note because I can't top what you just said in just that succinct manner. I can't wait for my 75-year-old mom to see this. She has an aversion to subtitles, but I'll still drag her for this because I want to watch her watch this in the manner that you intended. But all the best for Shape of Momo.
Thank you so much.
It's coming out on the 29th, and please check your listings, local listings, and do go watch this film because, as she said, the film does not need your support but patronage. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.